girl between 3rd and 4th grade, so I too am a local. So thank you everybody for letting me and Barack Obama, right? What a pair. Well, let me tell you this. Barack Obama cannot have a second term as president because he is, with all seriousness, the most dangerous president we have ever had on national security. I am a proud member of the Intelligence Committee on the House of Representatives, and this afternoon you may have heard that Barack Obama said that he was offended that the White House press corps had the temerity to question him on leaking sensitive national security information. He's offended. Good. That's like the president of the Titanic saying he's offended by the iceberg. Of course the White House leaked it, and of course they did it to make Obama look like he was tough on terror. I am offended that he lied to the American people this afternoon. And I am offended that the White House press corps did not jump down the president's throat. It is amazing what happened. The president looking tough on terror is about like Eric Holder looking tough on Acorn. Do you get what I mean? This is our national security that we're talking about. This isn't about anyone's political ambitions. Because the White House has gone to great lengths to leak of all the bravado that the White House Terror Tuesday meetings when they choose which terrorists they're going to kill. You see, isn't it rich that according to the New York Times, General Axelrod is once again making our military decisions from the White House Situation Room. These are meetings that David Axelrod has no business being in as a campaign advisor to the president. So I want to ask the question today, Mr. President, what is David Axelrod doing in there? Is he focus grouping who the person is on the kill list before you make your choice? This is creepy. The New York Times went to great lengths to portray our president as very strong on foreign policy and also on terror. And they reported that the president uses childlike trading cards to decide this week's kills. They're treating our national security like a comic book. But I'm here to tell you this is infantile. And it's also insulting to our brave United States troops. And make no mistake, this is absolutely ideologically based. Because you see, radical Islam isn't just trying to defeat us through violence. You see, the untold story today in the United States is that the radical jihadists are winning in a much bigger way toward achieving their ultimate goal of a global caliphate all under Sharia law. Because a week from now, in fact, it's just a few miles from where we are here today for CPAC, in Rolling Meadows, Illinois, an Islamic group that openly calls for restoration of caliphate, and what that is, if you don't know, it's the political union of Muslims worldwide in a single Sharia state, and they're holding this conference in this caliphate conference in a very nice suburban hotel, just a few miles away. But the group is dedicated to subverting and destroying our American government. Now think about this. This is subversion. This isn't protected speech. And so I ask you, why in the world hasn't the Obama administration shut this conference down next week? You see, other countries label this group terrorist organization, and they ban this group from their country. Why aren't they banned here in the United States? media right now. This is what's already promoted next week's conference.
After decades of black cloud and desert rain, the Muslim world gave birth to its blessing. The Ummah erupted into the streets demanding change. It was a beautiful sight to see the protest spread without
What is after الملك الجبري? This military kingdoms. يقول صلى الله عليه وسلم ثم تكون خلافة على منهاج النبوة.
يكون سعينا الآن موافق لهذا الخبر القدري الذي أخبر عنه صلى الله عليه وسلم أننا نريد أن ننتقل من زمان الملك الجبري إلى زمان الخلافة الراشدة.
فنحن موجودين ناتوا كل هذا مش نعمل دولة إسلامية على قدر المسؤولية وانصروا الخلافة على جثثكم وأشلائكم. على جثثكم وأشلائكم.
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله وآله والأحبة. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله وآله والأحبة. You're blazing fire of truth, being soothing thought of peace. With the light of your sincerity, break the clouds of tyranny. Your faith be like a blessed tree, give your shade to all who seek. May your roots run true and deep, take your strength from unhappy. Ya Nabi salam alayk, Ya Rasul salam alayk.
Rolling Meadows, Illinois, next week. President Obama, I call on you to shut down this conference next week. That would be tough on terror. And while the president is busy playing whack-a-mole with individual terrorists, this is a much more serious threat of the dangerous ideology of radical Islam. And I am here to tell you, it is spreading at a never-before-seen pace across the globe, including here, as you saw on the screen, in the United States. And so I ask you to consider Egypt. Just consider the nation of Egypt. President Barack Obama insulted the president of Egypt when he took his very first foreign policy trip to deliver his very first foreign policy address, which, by the way, he gave in Cairo at the center of Islamic thought. And go look up that speech and read it. The president is delivering the speech to a religion, to Islam. He's not delivering it to political leaders. He's not delivering it to a nation state. Since when has a president gone and delivered a first foreign policy speech to a religion? But that's what he did when he went to Cairo. And in a shocking move, President Obama invited the theocratic Muslim Brotherhood to be honored to hear his speech while sitting in the front row when the policy of the president of Egypt was to keep the Muslim Brotherhood as far away as he possibly could. Well, why? Because, by the way, the Muslim Brotherhood's mission is the stated goal of the global spread of the Islamic State through the use of jihad and by death if necessary. This group, our president, honored by putting in the front row of his speech. The Brotherhood's spiritual leader has called for the subjugation of our United States Constitution and Israel's government, by the way, to the dictates of Islamic ideology and also of Sharia law. Because you see, this same Muslim Brotherhood spiritual leader has called for the killing of our United States troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. And the Obama administration has chosen to tap this guy to act as a mediator between the United States and our enemy, the Taliban. Now, gee, I wonder whose side he's going to be taking. Obama's national security failures began almost immediately when it came to Iran. He failed to protect Americans against Iran's deadly nuclear goal and against their sphere of influence. Obama told us he could charm the Iranians. He could charm them out of pursuing a global caliphate through the threat of nuclear weapons and dominance. But since President Obama became president, the Iranians are practically giddy right now at their progress toward their goal, and the president has left us with fewer and uglier options in a world that can literally melt under the horror of a nuclear attack. You see, the president's problems with Iran are very obvious to all of us in this room, but his relationship with the Organization of Islamic Cooperation has virtually gone unnoticed. Have you heard of them? Who are they? The OIC is the second largest intergovernmental organization in the world after the UN. And the OIC claims that they have the right to govern all Muslims, even Muslims in the United States who have political representatives. But they think they have the right to represent them. You see, they have a 10-year plan that began in 2005 and is to be concluded by 2015. They've been wildly successful to implement their Sharia-based speech code worldwide. Because what they plan to do, and they're serious about this, is to criminalize all communications that are deemed insulting to Islam, even in a nation like the United States. Because you see, the OIC now, successfully, with President Obama's help, has pushed through the United Nations passage of UN Resolution 1618. Have you heard of this? It's aimed at purging negative stereotyping of Islam under the guise of preventing Islamophobia. My remarks today are not Islamophobic. You see, my remarks today are to warn us in the United States that our very United States Constitution is under serious attack today, and we better wake up. Because this resolution calls on all countries to enact laws to prevent negative statements to Islam. You see, that's a clear violation of our First Amendment right to free speech. But the Obama administration thought this was a great idea to stop people in this country from criticizing Islam. So when last October 19th, many prominent, in fact scores of Islamic organizations wrote a letter. They wrote it to the White House, and they urged them to do a complete purge of any federal government training materials, of any references to the ideology of Islam, to ensure that all trainers in our U.S. military and in the FBI and in other security agencies be retrained so they would be brainwashed with political correctness. It only took days, in fact, it took less than a week for the Obama administration to act on a letter from these scores of Muslim organizations to begin this unprecedented purge of every federal government agency. It is happening today as we speak. And we will learn today in an article that the Obama administration has met hundreds of times with an Islamic Front group for a terrorist organization. Now, it's amazing. This can't happen in the United States, we say. But we are now very late in the game, I'm sorry to tell you. We are very late in this game because we are quickly losing our sense of who we are as a nation. And we're losing our ability to even identify our radical Islamic jihadist enemies. Because in order to win in this effort, we have to be able to speak about the enemy. This resolution stops us from doing this. And to speak about it and study about it, that allows us to recognize the enemy. And when you recognize them, then you can defeat them. Isn't that interesting? You see, if we fail to realize that the enemy isn't just random Al-Qaeda leaders that pop up on the top of the deck on Chair Tuesdays on the kill list, we need to recognize. You see, it's also the nonviolent, radical Islamists that intend to overthrow our laws in favor of Sharia in a global caliphate. Now, I know the side. It sounds more like I'm talking to you about an episode of 24, doesn't it? But the reality is that we could wake up some morning wondering, how in the world did America come under Sharia law? But Obama is easily the most dangerous, feckless, irresponsible president that this country has ever had on the issue of foreign policy. CPAC, that's why it explains why he cannot be evicted from the White House soon enough. We can't wait until November to tell this story. We tell it now. Don't let anyone tell you he's a rough, tough foreign policy genius. This genius isn't doing a thing to stop terrorists from holding their suicide bomber conference next week here in Chicago. We have to stand and fight for our beliefs. Because I believe, as you do, that we have a destiny to fulfill here in this nation. And I believe that we need to do this because we need to honor not only the memories of men and women soldiers who, through the generations, have given their last full measure of devotion for us. They are the ones, through their memory, through their success, through their achievements, they're the ones who gave us this liberty to be here even this afternoon. And so we owe it to them. And we owe it to our posterity. And we owe it to our God to keep our republic free. Because you see, this is a magnificent, unparalleled, never seen before in 5,000 years of recorded human history, a nation unparalleled in time, and one that is necessary and mandatory to be the light of the world to freedom lovers everywhere. You see, this is our destiny, and this is our duty, and this is our calling to stand up for this nation, no matter the cost. And we will do exactly that. We will prevail. God bless you. God bless America. And may America bless Almighty God.